and welcome to Sanditon Fancast. We're a fan-created podcast about everyone's fave masterpiece show, Sanditon. If you're new here, let me explain. We're an after show, so after watching each new episode of Season 3, put us on and listen to our scorching hot takes. But before we start, we should introduce ourselves. Who the hell are you?
I'm Michelle. I live in the States, and you can find me at Musings on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm Rita. I live in England, and I'm at Annoying Rita on Instagram and Twitter.
So we know that PBS has made the ludicrous decision to release all 6 episodes of the season at once online. But we will be living that hashtag spoiler-free life and watching this old school style, 1 episode a week. So please be gentle in your mocking of our predictions, and remember to keep all correspondence with us spoiler-free. Okay, let's get into it with a recap of the first episode, shall we?
Yes. So, we began Season 3, as we usually do, Charlotte in a carriage hurtling towards our favourite seaside town, this time with her fiancé, Ralph Sterling. Starling, not sure about pronunciation.
Yes.
Ralph hopes to make a good impression on her fancy town friends and tells Charlotte he would hate to let her down. Charlotte insists that he has nothing to worry about. But that's not strictly true, is it, Charlotte? Ralph is gonna have to have one big worry coming his way, and it rhymes with Schmalexander Schmalborn. Cut to the Parker residence, where Georgiana is receiving her birthday presents, a beautiful pair of emerald earrings, and her entire £100,000 inheritance. Upon leaving the Parkers, she runs into the newly arrived Ralph and Charlotte. Georgiana hugs Charlotte and thanks them for both coming all the way for her birthday party that Saturday. Ralph thanks her for including him on the invitation, but his fiancée gets a trapped-in-headlights expression on her face. You think she would have worked on that by now.
Over at Denham House, Lady Denham is praising Dr. Fuchs, will wonders ever cease, for inventing a novel new way of torturing Edward. This being Dr. Fuchs, it involves being blasted with cold water from a hosepipe. Alas, it's not all wet t-shirt competition for Edward, as we cut to him enduring a sermon from Reverend Hankins in church. He is encouraged to, quote, accept the Lord's fatherly embrace, end quote, and other such not. Outside of the church, Beatrice Hankins runs into Dr. Fuchs, who is delighted at her ability to speak the most rudimentary German. Major flirting vibes are ruined by the sudden arrival of her disapproving brother, who argues with Fuchs about whose influence is doing Edward the most good. Unfortunately for the potential lovebirds, Hankins does not approve of the Germans' ungodly fiddle-faddle.
I love that word.
I do too. We then head back into town where a new family is arriving. Lady Montrose, her son Lord Henry Montrose, and her daughter Lady Lydia. From the arguing going on in the carriage, we learn they are not there to sample the delights of town, but to escape their terrible reputation in Bath.
Later that night, Charlotte, Ralph, Georgiana and the Parkers are playing an after-dinner game of Snapdragon, where you set a bowl of brandy on fire and pick raisins out of it. I know. Charlotte is obviously amazing at it, because she's amazing at everything, but Ralph hesitates and bans himself. What a metaphor, guys. Talk then turns to Georgiana's birthday party. Arthur has taken charge and plans to build an indoor pleasure garden for their guests. What guests are that? I hear you cry. Well, not only the Lady Montrose and her son, the Duke of Buckinghamshire. Did we mention that he was a duke? He's a duke.
Yeah.
But also, Charlotte's bestie from season 1, Lady Susan. Ralph is shocked to learn Charlotte has so many friends in high places and that she's been to London and just never mentioned it. Weird.
Oops.
The gang quickly change the subject, and before you know it, they're discussing the upcoming wedding. It's such a perfect time of year for one. Tom quotes the first line of To Autumn, which he attributes to Wordsworth. Arthur interjects that he thinks it was Shelley. They turn to Ralph to ask who wrote it. Ralph is like, he fears poetry isn't really his thing. Charlotte interjects that it was Keats, and thank God, because I'd been screaming, Keats! Keats! It's Keats! For the entire scene. And everyone in the room is like, oh my God, Ralph, can you believe your luck in marrying a walking poetry encyclopedia? Ooh, so useful on a farm.
Yes, indeed. The next morning, a rather bedraggled Lord Montrose is caught sneaking into his apartments by his mother and sister. Awkward! Mother is not best pleased about his scandalous behavior and yells that he should be focusing on finding a wife of means and producing a son and heir. Conveniently for him, an heiress with £100,000 has just invited them to her birthday party. As for his sister, well, she needs to find a husband, and it will be no small task as... She's 27 years old. Oh, dear God, no!
Quick, someone get the veil.
Lady Montrose then declares that there are no worse bedfellows than good breeding and destitution. And pardon any bedraggled meowing that you hear. I have a very needy cat who is sitting next to me.
Just adds to the vibe.
Anyhow, Charlotte visits Georgiana at her fancy new apartment and discusses the latter's search for her mother. Despite engaging agents on 2 continents, she has found nothing. In the meantime, she is fending off more fortune hunters than ever, but following the Lockhart situation, she is determined to avoid marriage. Understandable. This naturally leads them to talk about why Charlotte changed her mind about marriage. Charlotte doesn't have a fortune to live off, and Ralph is a kind, caring man, and while she might not love him, love had led her astray in the past. Meanwhile, Colbourne, Leo, and Augusta arrive back at Hayrick Park from Bath, and first things first, they crack out the tea service. Augusta tells her uncle that now they have returned, he can stop trying to find her a husband. Leo asks why Augusta has to get married, and Colbourne explains that to preserve her security and position in society requires her to marry. Leo's response is to ask why he doesn't marry then. We stan Leo. Augusta is like, he is holding out for an unattainable ideal, a woman of unsurpassable beauty who can ride a horse and quote poetry. Do we happen to know someone like that?
I think we do, yes. His unattainable ideal is walking with Mary and Tom when they bump into season 1 fave, Lady Susan, in town. She is desperate to hear Charlotte's news. Tom being Tom, he interjects that Charlotte's now engaged, which shocks Lady Susan, who drags her friend away for a gossip. Lady Susan tells Charlotte she's thrilled for her, but a little surprised that she would marry a farmer and return to her village. Charlotte remarks that it was good enough for her parents, why should it not be good enough for her? Lady Montrose then interrupts them. She is desperate to reintroduce herself to Lady Susan. She remarks that the entire haute monde is in Sanditon and wonders if the newly crowned king will even pay a visit. As Lady Susan walks away, she remarks to Charlotte that she has every reason to suspect he might. Prediction? That's going to happen in the final.
Oh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlotte and Lady Susan are again interrupted, this time by Leo, Augusta, and Mrs. Wheatley. Leo flings herself into Charlotte's arms and asks why Charlotte didn't even say goodbye. Charlotte apologizes awkwardly and explains she's only in town for Georgiana's party tomorrow, but it's nice to see them and she's missed them all. Mrs. Wheatley says Hayrick Park has felt your absence, which is an interesting name for Alexander Colbourne.
Yeah.
Charlotte makes a sad face.
Sad face. Back at Denham House, Edward is telling Lady Denham that he has repaired the church roof, rang the bells for morning service, and mucked out the Hankins horse. He claims the tasks gave him purpose, and he is reborn, quote-unquote. Lady Denham says she remains unconvinced. But she did promise that once she could observe consistent evidence of his reform, she would pay him an allowance, so she has to cough him. He plasters a fake smile on his face when she orders him to take her into town so he can carry her purchases. Charlotte and Lady Susan are somehow still on their walk when they bump into Ralph. Ralph is like the golden retriever of love interests and excitedly hands over Keith's latest book of poetry and expresses an interest in reading it with her. Charlotte looks embarrassed.
Tea time with Arthur and Georgiana.
Mm-hmm.
They're approached by everyone's second favourite Duke, Lord Montrose, who thanks her for the invitation to the party and then asks her for a promenade tomorrow. It's all very Bridgerton.
Mm-hmm.
She declines, and he seems rather pleased to be able to leave the conversation and runs away. Georgiana remarks that was suspiciously easy. But hey, a win is a win. Back in town, Edward is indeed lugging around his aunt's shopping when he literally runs into Augusta and knocks her down. He apologises but keeps looking at her in fascination.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When he approaches his aunt, she yells at him to stay away from the girl. Across the street, Mrs. Wheatley is warning Augusta to do the same. This is like the last thing you want to say to a teenage girl, by the way, but we'll get into that later.
Across town, Tom has a meeting with a Mr. Rowley Price, a speculator that has expressed interest in Tom's plans for a new hotel. Very grumpy and disobliging. The meeting doesn't appear to be going very well. The man hates sand, but surprisingly enough, he decides he will invest in the hotel as soon as he gets Lady Denham's approval. Leo and Augusta run back home and immediately run to tell Colbourne that his boo is back in town and that she regrets the circumstances of her departure. Colbourne looks shocked and immediately starts brooding on the matter.
Classic Colbourne.
Yeah. Later that night, the girls are gossiping in the kitchen with Mrs. Wheatley. Augusta is convinced that her uncle and Charlotte are in love, and she plans on forcing them to acknowledge their feelings by dancing together at Georgie's ball. Oh, that's going to work out well. Next morning, Tom prepares to introduce Lady D to his new investor, but as he goes to show the man into the room with her, Lady Denham hears the name Rowley Price and starts scrambling around the room looking for an exit. "Where is your servant's entrance?" she screams at Mary. When Tom and Mr. Price enter, they find Lady Denham gone.
Mary and Charlotte head into the old town to visit a former servant of Mary's with a charity basket. Inside the cottage is a very dirty-looking woman and a million children. Charlotte gets left holding the baby, but she gets it. She's one of 12. Mary explains that Miss Hayward is to be married soon. The impoverished mother says, "Oh, you'll be just like me soon." No thank you, ma'am. No. No. Cut to Arthur and Georgiana. Arthur expresses apprehension that the party is perfect for Georgiana and explains he's trying to make up for the Lockhart debacle. Georgiana tells him to forget about him, that he is a true dear friend. Don't you just love them?
Yes, I adore them so much. The Parker family, the fiancés, and Georgie all head to the beach for a fun day out, even though it looks bloody freezing. And it does. Lord Montrose approaches Georgiana again, and this time begs her to just pretend for a moment that she finds him amusing. Then he will leave her alone. She glances over his shoulder, realizes he is being forced to court her by his overbearing mother, and decides to play along by fake giggling. Georgiana is then accosted by Augusta and Leo with a birthday present. I cannot remember seeing them ever interact before. It's pretty obvious that they are doing it to secure a last-minute invitation to the party, which they, of course, receive for Augusta and her chaperone. They run home to tell Colbourne, who is pretty grumpy about the prospect of last-minute plans, but perks up when they mention that Ms. Haywood will be there.
Ooh.
Georgiana then takes the Parker children to collect shells along the shore. She remembers that her mother left her a shell necklace and becomes melancholy, walking across the beach by herself. When walking past one of the bathing machines, she catches Lord Montrose engaging in some very homosexual activities and stares at him in shock.
Okay, so back in her apartment, Georgiana receives a call from Lord Montrose, who asks her to forget what she saw on the beach and explains he must keep certain appearances as a duke. Georgie agrees and proposes that he pretends to court her in order to keep her fortune hunters at bay. Kind of like a reverse Daphne and Simon, if you will. This is a great news for his mother, who is on a roll, as she has just discovered the perfect match for her daughter, a wealthy widower, recently returned from Bath. That's right, Alexander Colbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that one. Don't think you'll be having much success, but it'll be funny.
Yeah.
Time for the ball. And everyone arrives in their finery, but let's just cut to the chase. The moment we have all been waiting for arrives. Alexander walks into the ball and immediately beelines towards Charlotte, who is standing beside Lady Susan, like, please leave me alone. I think I stopped breathing, but before they can have the much-needed heart-to-heart, Lady Montrose interrupts and asks that she and her daughter be introduced to Colbourne. To be fair to Lydia, she handles the complete awkwardness with good humour and grace. She's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Georgiana then makes her grand entrance in the green and gold Chinese silk dress and on the arm of a fucking duke. It's pretty epic. Everyone claps like, oh my god!
At dinner, Arthur tries to warn Georgiana not to yield to another fortune hunter. Apparently, Lord Montrose's father has gambled away their entire fortune, but Georgiana assures him that she knows what she's doing. Across the table, Lady Susan is talking with Ralph. He explains that he has known and loved Charlotte his whole life, but finds her quite different in Sanditon. Lady Susan does that tight smile thing that suggests she disapproves of the match. Across the room, Lady Denham realizes she has been sat next to Mr. Price, who calls her Louisa Brereton?
Brereton, I think.
Brereton. Okay.
Some nonsense English name.
Definitely a blast from the past. She accuses him of setting this up, but he swears he shouldn't have come within 100 miles of Sanditon had he known who she was. Well, goodness, there's a story there. After dinner, Colbourne once again approaches Charlotte and begins to declare his feelings for her again when he is interrupted by Ralph. Charlotte immediately explains that she is to marry him. If you look closely, you can actually pinpoint the moment, the exact moment his heart breaks into two, but he manages to style it out as just inquiring if she would be his governess again, but then runs away like he left the stove on.
Bye!
Yes. Okay, thanks, bye!
Time for some dancing. Everyone splits into pairs and begins waltzing. Among them is Edward, who was earlier lamenting the fact that he might spend years trying to prove himself to his aunt to no avail. He's told that Augusta inherited a fortune after her parents passed, then starts staring at her dancing from across the room. Stay away from her! Oh my god!
Mm-hmm.
Lady Denham tells Tom that she wouldn't trust Mr. Price to put up a tent, let alone a hotel, and that he's not to take a penny of his money. Behind them, a quadrille begins, and Dr. Fuchs and Beatrice are dancing together.
Aww.
He asks to write to her from his symposium in London, and she agrees. Aww. Meanwhile, Augusta is partnered with Edward and tells him she has heard about his reputation. She's capable of forming her own opinions.
Oh, God.
I would not recommend doing that.
No.
Listen to the talk. Charlotte and Colbourne then partner up, and she wishes him luck on finding a new governess, and he stiffly wishes her a happy marriage. Awkward.
Yeah. Georgiana and Henry take center stage in the dance when there is a cry of, "Stop the music!" and everything falls silent as Charles Lockhart enters the room dramatically. He asks to speak to Georgiana alone, and they go out onto the terrace. He hands over a writ and tells her that he is the rightful heir to her father's fortune. he suggests she find a lawyer. Dun, dun, dun. The end.
Oh my God, that was so much. About halfway through writing the recap, I had a mini breakdown. I was like, this is too much information.
Well, that's the thing with this show, because it is, 6 measly episodes to cram in 87 million plot lines. It's like, guys, this is a lot.
Watching this show, just like, boom, boom, and this shit, and then this shit. Before we begin, I just want to say how I fucking hate you, ITV. I fucking hate you. Not only did you cancel this show after 1 season, but when it gets renewed, you make it impossible for the people living in the UK to actually watch it. I'm pretty sure that my TV license fee went into paying to make this fucking show, but I can't watch it, okay? I understand that the show aired in Australia this week.
Yeah.
But in the country that it was actually fucking made, it is impossible to watch.
It's completely absurd that you all aren't able to watch this, that it's not being simulcast.
And can we get any idea of what the date is when it starts from ITV? No! These motherfuckers will not respond to an email with information.
Nope. Punks. Punks!
I hate them.
Ugh.
Anyway, enough of my anger.
First impressions of the show.
I thought it started a bit slowly, but by the end of the episode, I was on the edge of my seat grip, screaming, "Oh my God, Charles!" And it really set up a lot of fun storylines, and I love the new characters. And I'm dying to see episode 2.
Yes, me too.
I think what surprised me about this episode was how much it felt like a continuation of the previous season. I think the first episode of season 2 was way more like a new chapter, while this episode felt like we really hit the ground running. They were like, keep up.
Well, and you said that they filmed both seasons at the same time, right?
Yeah, which makes sense.
Totally.
You get the money, you got to make it before ITV cancels you again.
Seriously.
What did you think?
I thought that, once we kind of got the initial setup taken care of, like within the first 10 minutes, that we were on the move. And
we were hurtling through storylines.
Yeah. And just kind of trying to keep track of, like all the things that were going on. And I'm really glad that I have watched it. I almost got my third watch in. I'm about 20 minutes before the end of that. And I had to stop because, life. But I'm really glad that I did rewatch it because there was so much going on. It was hard to keep track of, like some of the little things that happened throughout the episode. But yeah, I thought it was great.
Does it intrigue you for the rest of season 3?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, Charles strolling on into the ballroom. I was like, oh, hell no. What are you doing back here?
Love that the actor said he wasn't back for season 3. I assume this is just like a cameo, but when he walked in, I was like truly shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, are you allowed to be?
Don't fuck this up, man.
Of course he was going to
fuck it up. Of course he will.
Speaking of the 1,000 storylines, we better get to it.
Seriously.
Otherwise we're not going to get through them all.
We'll be here all night. Charlotte and Ralph.
So, I said last season this felt like a reworking of the Sydney-Eliza engagement. But the obvious difference is that Ralph is much nicer than Eliza. The consequence is that I just feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
All the fucking time he's on screen, I'm like, someone take him away from his place.
Yeah, this is not going to end well for him.
Yeah. He seems like a really nice,
decent man.
It sounds underwhelming, but nice is like huge compliment for a man when most of them are terrible. And I think in many ways he would be a great husband for someone. Like, for example, when he bought her the Keats poetry, I thought, like, that was so sweet. And wanting to, like, encourage and share her interests. Like, that's a green flag, everyone. You run towards a man like that.
Yes.
And I hope that by the end of the season, he finds someone that is able to appreciate that about him and not, like, cringe openly.
Oh, he deserves that. He seems like a very nice man. Every time he would say something to Charlotte, that, implied basically, you're a different person when you're in Sanditon. I was just like, oh man, dude, there are so many tangled webs, and I'm sure she hasn't shared them with you. I worry about I worry about him and how he's going to wind up. I don't want him going back heartbroken and alone.
He needs a love interest. Everyone else is getting one. I thought it was interesting that Charlotte just, throughout the episode, never tells anyone she's engaged. Like, even Lady Susan. What the hell do you think that is? What nonsense.
Oh my God. Charlotte, are you embarrassed about the fact that you're doing this? Maybe a little bit, because everybody knows that, you were in love with Sydney, and then you had this thing going on with Colbourne.
God, can you believe we're on her fourth love interest?
Yeah, rebound much?
But I think even outside of her feelings for Colbourne, they're very incompatible together. I don't think Charlotte is suited to be a farmer's wife.
No.
Though I don't love the way everyone is constantly like, ooh, Willington? Why would you want to go back there? I'm just like, bitches, it can't be that bad.
Willington is Willington. Just back off,
Back off. It produced Charlotte. How terrible can it be?
How about our darling man, Mr. Colbourne?
This episode, I felt like he had this complete lack of agency at all. Like, he felt like a passenger to the events that were happening.
Yes, he was just kind of being drug around.
By Augusta and Leah.
Yes.
They basically had to take charge and force him to be in the same room as Charlotte. And even then, he managed to fumble the bag by not being honest about why he was actually talking to her. I mean, that's perfectly in keeping with his character, because he is uncommunicative by nature.
Yes.
But I want to, just scream at him, come on, do something! Do something about this situation! In the words of Michael Scott, engaged ain't married. He just needs to put on his big boy pants.
Yes.
Excuse me. Put on his big boy pants and go get the girl back.
Yes.
Do something.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah, well, first of all, he was looking fine.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, when he got back to the park. I took the opportunity to listen to our last episode for season 2 just the other day to kind of hear, our thoughts around, the episode and all that kind of stuff. And that made me remember how I was slightly bashing Colbourne in the first couple episodes of season 2, and I feel horrible about that because he is a dashing mofo.
I know,
and I love the relationship that he has with Leo and Augusta now.
Yeah.
I really do.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. Oh, but dude, you gotta, if you want her, you better get your head in the game.
I do remember, at the beginning of season 2, we were kind of iffy about them because there wasn't much movement in their relationship. And I'm wondering if, there's a repeat of that because they're like, we've got to hold off on this shit until later in the season. And part of my frustration is I just want you to get together now.
Yes.
And I need to calm down. Georgiana.
Yeah, Georgiana. Oh, I love her so much.
She's become my favourite character,
Mm-hmm.
and that is wild because I was really annoyed by her in season 1. And I was very much loving like a whole episode where she was like the star and everyone was like, oh my god, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
And she got to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that, and I loved her scenes with Arthur and the way he's become like a protective big brother for her.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying seeing her and Lord Montrose
Yeah.
together. That's very fun. I thought they were really funny together, and I thought it was really smart, their plan, because, I mean, he needs a beard, and she gets the status and security of associating with the Duke.
Yep.
I hope we get a few more episodes of this.
Yes, me too.
Arrangement, because fun.
Me too.
I just like it.
Me too. It's gonna make Lord Montrose's mother insane when the truth comes out. It's just gonna make her insane.
About the money.
Yes.
Yeah, she's gonna be absolutely awful. I'm also hoping we get more movement on her missing mother, because they're doing that thing they also did in season 2, which is like, oh, I wonder why Sydney was there. Wait, like for episodes we were waiting for them to address this. Like, I need to know who her mother is.
Yeah, my fear remains that one that was spoken in our last episode of season 2, that Mrs. Wheatley's going to wind up being her mother.
Yeah, I mean that's. It's
just too pat.
Every time they did a close up of Mrs. Wheatley this episode, I was like, oh no.
Yep.
It's like I can't enjoy Mrs. Wheatley because the fear is always there.
That
I'm wondering if this whole lawsuit with Charles might bring to light more information about her, because he's got to have learned something new.
Yeah.
And the only variable really is the mother.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And I know I'm going to be restraining myself from going and watching the next episode before Sunday. I know, I'm going to wait.
I will cry.
I'm going to wait.
By the way, is the sugar boycott still on?
I don't know.
I kept seeing all these like cakes in the background, and I was like, hey, what's going? You can't have cured. She ended slavery and now she's eating sugar again. I don't think so. It's only been a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Like, calm down.
So yeah, I noticed that too, and I was like, wait a second, you're not supposed to be eating sugar now, right? Oh gosh.
Question mark. We're on sugar watch for the remainder of season 3.
Our rating system should be lumps of sugar.
Because sugar's bad.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Edward, the irredeemable.
He is irredeemable.
He is.
He is.
Every week I'm going to put up a poll on Twitter and Instagram to see how people are feeling about his redemption. I put in quotation marks.
Oh my gosh. He is irredeemable. He looked at Augusta like a wolf looks at one of the 3 little pigs.
Or maybe like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Yeah.
I just can't believe that he tried to pull the I'm reborn card.
I was just like, oh, dude. And thinking to myself, if anybody believes the bullshit coming out of his mouth, then they all deserve to be swindled to pieces. Because he is not going to change his spots anytime soon.
There's absolutely no sign of him actually changing. Like, I have seen no evidence of it. Like, he's mostly just looked kind of annoyed for most of the...
I will admit that it was delightful seeing him getting blasted with the hose.
When that scene started, I was like, they're waterboarding him! And then it was like, then the water started and it was just a laughable small amount of water that was sort of...
Yes.
I was like, this
Yeah.
is your grand plan? Like, what is this doing? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. These people, I pray that they don't make these people stupid enough to fall for his bullshit, because he's
I mean, they've already fallen for it. Because it specifically with Dr. Fuchs and Reverend Hankins, it feeds into their grandiose ideas about their own powers, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like, oh, I've saved his soul. Oh, I've cured him. No, thank you. And it's interesting that the only one that can see through it is Lady Denham, she's like, fool me twice.
She's like, no, you're not getting me again, son. Not again.
I feel like this is definitely gonna, like, go somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the age difference, while completely normal for the society of the time, creeps me the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
In my mind, Augusta is still
a teenager.
Teenage, rebellious Augusta. She needs a nice, young teenage boy to crush on, not a grown-ass man with more baggage than a carousel.
I just don't have time for his bullshit.
Do you think that they're going to do that thing they did in, like, Cruel Intentions, where he pursues her for her money and then realizes that, oh, he can't do that to her, he loves her? Because if they do, I will be fucking complaining. Because I hate that plot.
Yeah.
It sucks in Cruel Intentions,
and
I don't want to suffer through it again. No, thank you.
I hope they don't. But
I think they will. Anyway.
Well, speaking of Lady Denham and Rolly Price. Is that how you say his name? Rolly?
Rolly, yeah.
It is spelled crazily. Too many bloody letters. Rowley.
I definitely had to look that up. Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I can't wait for the story.
I think the biggest laugh I've ever got from the show was Lady D frantically trying to hide.
Yes! Frantically scrambling out of the room.
When she's, like, looking at them talking, like, standing right behind them, they're talking about her, and she's, like, looking at them panicked. I love her. I can't wait to see more of them. I love their arguing. Also want to know the backstory. Do we think they're, like, exes?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I do.
What happened there?
I don't know.
Like, they seem to hate each other now.
There's something that involves broken trust.
But she hates him. Like, you would think, like, if she broke it off to marry a richer dude.
But he can't stand her either. Because, you know, he says he wouldn't have come within 100 miles if he'd known that Lady Denham was who she was. So it's like the two of them.
I just can't believe there's a man that she would hide from. Like, this is a woman with far too much confidence.
Yes.
I'm just fascinated. And I love the actor, and just the way he was grumpy about absolutely everything reminded me of her. I was like, are
they're a match made in heaven.
Or hell.
Yeah. You know, to see who can out curmudgeon the other.
Speaking of romance, Beatrice Hawkins and Dr. Fuchs.
Yes. Oh,
that was unexpected.
I know.
It's just like suddenly happening.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, when did what is this? You know, has he just never noticed her before? Or, you know, what?
They've clearly lived in town together for years.
Yeah. But it was adorable. I adore the actress that plays Miss Hawkins. You know, I've seen her in a number of period dramas. The one that obviously comes to mind is Lark's Rise to Candleford. Is that the name of it? Yeah. That's the one that instantly comes to mind. Oh, she's just so good.
Oh my god, her little smile when she saw him arrive at the party. Oh god, she's so sweet.
Oh,
love her so much.
Heart eyes.
Hope that she can get away from her annoying ass brother.
Yeah, seriously. Although I will say that, and we mentioned it in the recap, the use of the word fiddle faddle.
Amazing.
10 out of 10. That was awesome.
What's weird to me about this particular characterization of him as some kind of prude is that I remember in season 1, he was like fairly normal. And he had this weird flirty relationship with the lady who, I can't remember her name, but she was in charge of locking up Georgiana.
Oh, yes.
And he played cricket and he was like drinking wine and going to parties. And now he's like, Beatrice, you're drinking too much wine.
He's just become grumpy.
Maybe he needs his love interest back. That would cheer him right out.
I think so. Because he is insufferable.
Okay, introducing the Montrose family. Oh,
yes.
I loved this new family. Lady Montrose. I love her. She's kind of like a slightly more stern Mrs. Bennet vibe.
Yes,
because she's like the only thing she seems to talk or care about is matchmaking and potential suitors. I really like the introduction of like someone who's obsessed with class to the town. She's aristocracy. You see the way she was chasing after Lady Susan. It had like a new dimension to the show because we haven't really had that level of aristocracy before, so it's adding like an interesting dynamic. You can tell that Lady Montrose takes great pride in her status, and she's constantly saying like the Duke of Buckinghamshire, like in the most dramatic way.
Well, you know he's the Duke of Buckinghamshire. It's like, God damn, woman. You know, you're totally right on the Mrs. Bennet vibe. That was just delightful. And, you know, we've had Lady Susan on the show before, but I think that we have, you know, this new family coming in and, you know, they're going to be here for the long haul for this season. So I'm very interested to see what comes out of this. And I really like Lydia. I mean, I felt really bad for her that, you know, she's like, Mom, leave me alone.
There's that moment where her mum insults her dress and she's like, please stop with the compliments. You'll make me blush.
Exactly. Oh, my God.
Love her. I hope too she gets a love interest that isn't Alexander, because that's not going to go very well. No. There will be screaming happening here if they even start going down that road. Oh my God, when his mum finds out that Alexander has married the governess, she's going to be like, what's wrong with you? She's going to scream at Lydia. You couldn't even charm him properly.
Oh, God.
I think my favourite addition is definitely Henry Montrose. Obsessed with him. I mean, I never thought we'd get a cottaging scene in Sanditon, but here we are. Love him. I also like that he seems like good-natured and funny. I mean, obviously he has this like pretty big secret to carry around, but the show hasn't made him like a kind of tragic queer cliche, you know? Like, oh, the burden is so strong. Like, he's just like chill. Frolicking around town, making jokes with Georgiana. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, he's just living his life. I love that for him. I love the actor. Okay, here is my theory.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my first time viewing, I always take notes. A couple of minutes into the episode, my first note was, Arthur totally fucked Henry Montrose. And I know it in my bones. I know it for realsies, and I'm very rarely wrong. He kept avoiding eye contact with every time Montrose showed up. He was like, oh, panic.
Oh.
And there is absolutely no reason for him to do that unless they are secret lovers. I told you last season I thought Arthur had a little crush on Lockhart, and I'm now 100% convinced that is why he feels so guilty, because he let his own feeling like sway him. And there was a little bit of flirting, wasn't it?
Oh, Rita.
Do you think I'm right? Because I think I'm right. I always think I'm right.
I think that would explain a lot. Every now and then you and I will just say, Arthur, why don't you just marry Georgiana? Stop the madness. And, we've talked about, we've talked about how he has said that that's just not in the cards for him. And kind of what does that mean? We've speculated before about, whether or not he might be asexual. The thought that he might be gay has crossed my mind, but it hasn't lingered. But, that would make a hell of a lot of sense, especially the not looking at him.
Did you notice that too? Because I felt like it was...
He looked like he wanted to run out of the room every time the dude came in to the
And he's not like picture. That with when other suitors were around. I was like, you have such a visceral reaction to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was instantly sure, like, this guy, he's not sincere. Like, how could you know that? Well, okay, it's pretty obvious everyone's after her money. But, like, it was so intense that I was like, instantly.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was curious that we saw Henry sort of emerge from the beach. And, the implication would be that could be that he was with that other guy he met later. But I was like, mysterious. We don't know who he was with.
Yeah. Just,
and it's interesting. I immediately was like, oh, he's gay.
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as that scene showed, it was like, okay, he's gay. So, that's going to be a complication for him.
And
the whole, get married and have a kid thing. Sure, he can do that, but he's going to need to find someone willing to play along.
A lot of gay men would be, like, married and have managed to have children until, like, the very recently. Like, isn't that just absolutely depressing for all of the women who had to be married to them as well? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. That is...
In a sense, Henry's the best version of this because he was at least honest with Georgiana. He was sort of forced to, but it's ironic because I think his honesty is what she was drawn to, because I think had she not known this about him, there's no way she would have given him the time of day.
Oh, yeah.
I loved when she just barged up to him and was like, have I not made it clear? I'm not interested.
Let me spell this out for you, all right? Oh, God.
If I'm right about this, we're throwing a parade. Get your pride flags ready, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Themes. As I touched on earlier, I definitely think we're getting more of a focus on class this season. Very Jane Austen-y.
Yeah.
I was like, finally. I think the show was really drawing distinctions between the classes. Previously, we've had sort of everyone be treated equally, except for Lady Denham, who is always drawing a distinction between herself and everyone else. I think the introduction of the Duke and his family and the lady season, like sticking around all season, mingling with gentry and affluent gentlemen. But also we got that scene with the working class.
Yep.
Who were, it was like a scene out of Poldark. We were like, oh, remember poor people exist.
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't really get that in season 2 at all, did we?
No.
They got rid of Stringer and his family.
We didn't really see it in season 1 that much.
Yeah, I mean, even Stringer wouldn't have been really... I mean, he was working, but he wasn't poor.
Yeah. The character, the woman and her kids that they had on the show in this episode, I mean, they were destitute.
I mean, question mark. I think that I was looking around their cottage thinking, well, they're not that bad off. I've seen worse. Poldark, that people would be living, like, sleeping on the floor, not eating food.
Living in shacks, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was worse. I think it's interesting that now the town is growing, it's developing more of a hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And there are more distinctions between, like, the new town, the old town.
Yes.
It's kind of like more of a microcosm of society. And it's interesting that when it was smaller, it was actually probably more of a fair society. And as it's growing, inequality is growing. And, I mean, that's depressing to think about.
Yeah. I mean, they're fancying up the place, in making it, a place that, people are going to want to visit, like Bath. And, when you wind up, creating, these spaces where, it is basically forcing you to have money in order to, spend time in them, you're going to wind up getting into more of the class stuff. I mean, someone's got to serve these people.
Yeah. I think it's just inherently exclusionary because it's like, if you want to come here, you need to pay. And it's kind of depressing that Tom has thought about servicing all these rich people and hasn't thought about how the life of the servants or the fishermen or the shopkeepers or whatever, how their lives could be improved. It's all about, like, making a hotel for the fancy guests, and who gives a shit about how the quality of life of the actual inhabitants of the town.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, damn capitalism.
I am thinking that there will probably be a reckoning, or if not a reckoning, a real. I don't think.
Do you want to riot?
I don't. No,
do we need a
no, God, no,
riot?
no. We had enough riots in Poldark. Thank you very much. No, but I think that there will come a point where they have to begin thinking about these things. I would hope.
Bloody hope so. Yeah.
I would hope.
Isn't just another reason to sort of side-eye Tom? I think what was interesting to me also was that Charlotte seems to be able to move through all parts of the town with ease.
Yes.
But Ralph is constantly remarking at how out of place he feels amongst rarefied company. I mean, that's just another red flag.
Yeah. Oh, poor Ralph. God.
I can understand why he would feel awkward.
Yeah.
Bless him. He hasn't had the experience that Charlotte has.
No.
Speaking of, I definitely think marriage and, like, the purpose of the institution was a theme.
Marriage.
And the role.
Yes. Marriage.
Colbourne's comments about it providing status and security. It was like he was speaking about Charlotte, basically. Like, she needs the financial security of being married.
Yeah. Although she really doesn't, Alex.
Well, at the moment, she's not being offered an alternative, is he? Because he hasn't said anything. He just keeps going, do you want to be my governess again, please? And she's like, no, thank you.
It's like, oh my God, dude. Spit it out!
Just to say it. Just
oh my God.
She's not a mind reader.
But yeah, I think that marriage is definitely going to be a topic of conversation. If, we've got, our Duke who is being pressured to marry in order to, and find someone wealthy to marry, so that he can basically refill the family coffers. We've got Charlotte and her engagement to Ralph, which I think is going to crumble up into smoke. I hesitate to say it, but I know they're setting us up for this. Some kind of nefarious bullshit with Edward and Augusta. Can you say elope? Yeah. Wickham!
I hope Colbourne intervenes. Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be tap dancing around the big I do a lot this season.
I loved the watching the argument between Dr. Fuchs and Reverend Hawken about science versus God.
Yes.
This is a period of time that was like the birth of a more modern approach
Mm-hmm.
to both God and science. So it's interesting to see it play out on screen.
Yeah.
But I find it funny because they both have terrible cases. Reverend Hawkins just blathers away, and Dr. Fuchs just gives people showers, basically, which is completely useless. I don't think either have done anything to rehabilitate anyone.
Yeah.
Someone give Edward extensive psychotherapy, because
Oh, God.
at no point has anybody challenged his morality.
No. No. He is still Edward, the Edward of old, who's always looking for something that he can exploit, for his own gain.
It's usually a woman.
Very true. Let's see. This story is taking place, well before Darwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not quite at that point in history. So I was thinking that might.
Darwin wasn't doing anything particularly original, but let's not get into
Yeah.
All of his theories have been disproved. Okay. Fave scenes. I love Georgiana's grand entrance.
Yes.
I was so proud I could cry, but my favourite scene is definitely Lady Denham running around the Parker's home like a wild animal trapped inside.
Yes. Oh my God, that was just
it and watched
genius.
It like 6 times.
That was genius. Yeah, and she had to have had fun doing that scene.
Yeah. What about you?
That scene, most definitely. I thought the scene where we saw the little sparring going on between Lady Hankins and Rowley, starting up, and it was like, who's sparks are happening. I thought the scene, the staging for the ball was absolutely spectacular.
It did not look like an indoor pleasure garden, though. I'm sorry.
Really?
I had huge expectations, and then I saw it and I was like, it's just some shrubs, babes.
Oh, gosh.
Beautiful, but not what you promised.
Oh, man. I thought that it was beautiful, and agree with you that Georgiana's entrance, and my favorite costume being that dress, was spectacular. And she was wearing her new emerald earrings that she got from the Parkers, which I thought was really sweet. And what a lovely gift for them to give her. I thought the scene where Ralph brings Charlotte the book of poetry, I thought that was lovely.
Oh, that was when I was like, oh, Ralph, you deserve the world.
Oh, yeah.
Buy me books, Ralph.
Yes, we need to protect Ralph. Thank you very much. And he's just gonna get his heart broken into so many little pieces. Ooh.
What about least fave?
Least favorite? I think, and this is gonna sound kind of awful, the scene where they wound up going into Old Town.
Oh, yeah.
Not because they went into Old Town. I'm fine with there being an Old Town. I just felt like it felt like they were trying to make up for the fact that they haven't even addressed this in previous series. And so they beat us over the head with, this
heavy-handed.
Yeah, it felt very, very heavy-handed. Now I'm glad that they are beginning to address it, but yeah, I just felt like, it's like, oh, wow, guys.
I thought, it's more interesting. It's an interesting thing to add to the show, but it was just done clumsily.
Yes.
And I felt really awkward watching it for the actress playing the... I forget her name, because I was just like, oh, she's like a pulled out cliche. Her children are all fine, but she was covered in dirt and speaking like she's in, I don't know, it was just a bit, it was a bit much, guys.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
My least favourite thing is gonna make me sound insane, and I
okay.
while they were having the conversation about To Autumn, the poem by Keats, I was going, when is the show set? And then somebody told me that it was 1820, and I instantly was like, they fucked up, because that poem wasn't published till the summer of 1820. So presumably, when Ralph bought the volume of poems, I was like, that's the volume that would have had the poem in.
Oh no!
And I was sort of like having this whole crisis in my head watching these scenes, going, maybe I'm wrong about the year. And this is 1821. But then I got it reconfirmed, so I just had an absolute meltdown.
Oh,
because
God.
I am like very familiar with Keats's poetry. I did my dissertation on them, and I know when that was published, I was instantly having a breakdown about it. And then I was like, but why would anyone else care about this, Rita? I'm not sure you need to mention it. But the whole time, I was just like, this is, like, you should know.
This is, yeah.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I feel personally victimized by this.
Oh. Well, when was King George IV crowned? Because they mentioned newly crowned.
Coronation was 18th of July, 1821.
Oh.
If this is 1820... Wait, that's really confusing, actually, because I'm pretty sure season 1... Wait, what's going on? If this is 1821, then they're fine. But I'm pretty sure that this is like the autumn after last season that was 1820. Oh, Michelle, I'm having a breakdown right now. I'm spiraling.
Now, are we sure that it was 1820 last season?
No. Am I sure?
No.
No, I'm not sure of anything anymore. Hi guys, this is Rita. I'm in the future editing the show, and I just have to caveat this discussion by pointing out that in season 1, they refer to him as the Prince Regent. So at the very latest, season 1 had to be set in 1819 because his father died and he became king in 1820. And as I have just stated, he was crowned in 1821. So, following the logic of this, season 1 was in 1819, season 2 was in 1820, and season 3 is still in 1820. So, I'm calling this a fuck up. If anybody can see any flaws to my logic here, that's what the email is for. Back to the show. Other than that, okay, let me give you another thing. I might cut that whole thing out because that was just scary for me. I did sometimes feel like they went way too heavy-handed with the Ralph is useless scenes.
Yeah.
The Snapdragon scene was enough. We didn't need the whole him declining to play bowls bit. Don't beat a dead horse, please. Don't beat a dead Ralph.
It's like, we know that he is, that this is new for him. Okay.
I also think I'd be bad at Snapdragon.
I'm not sticking my hand in a bucket of burning brandy? Are you kidding?
I would do it, but not for raisins. Like, raisins are shit. Are you kidding me? Like, give me something good.
Put some coinage in there, right? Then we'd be talking. Yeah.
Like, can you imagine how hot that would
Some
be?
gemstones?
Maybe a diamond.
Yeah, I'd do it for a diamond.
Okay, fave costume.
Georgiana's dress, hands down.
The green Chinese silk.
Perfection.
With the gold embroidery. I love the scene where she was trying to work out what to wear. And she describes that dress. I was like, wear that. That sounds great. And then you see it and it's perfect. One thing, it kind of reminded me of the painting Charles drew of her with all the vivid greens in the background.
Ooh.
I was like, this is an intentional colour palette choice. And as we said at the end of season 2, that painting isn't about Charles drawing her. It's like Georgiana choosing to be seen in a certain way. And I think that's her vision of herself. And it was nice to see her reflect that at her, like, coming out ball.
Yeah.
She looked lovely. I loved the jeweled clip thing she wore in her hair. I thought that was great. She had the best hair, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely was seeing a visible glue hairline in some of the scenes with Charlotte.
Wigs!
Yeah.
Wigs, people! Wigs! Gotta make sure you lay that lace.
Or at least learn how to blend it properly.
I can't remember any of the other costumes. I mean, I can't even remember any waistcoats.
I can remember some, mostly on Colbourne, but... Oh, and the Duke, when he arrived with her, he was wearing like this red waistcoat with like little gold pinstripes. I was like, whoop, that's a look. They looked amazing together.
He's fancy.
Yeah.
He's fancy.
How is he affording that? But that's another question. Oh, we need to mention he is staying in the George Willegan pink room.
In the pink room at Willegan's house, yes.
As soon as I saw that room, I was like, oh, some shit's going to go down in there. Surprised it didn't come with the sleeping dog that was always underneath the desk.
Yeah.
Performer of the episode.
This is a tough one. There were a lot of really great performances in this one. I think it's easy to say Rose Williams.
Yeah.
Because she's having to juggle all of these aspects of her life, right? With everyone. So she's had to do quite a bit of balancing. I thought that Crystal Clark as Georgiana was great.
She was really glowing this week. I was like, what is that skincare routine? You look amazing. Yeah.
She got the glow up.
She did.
Got to give my props to Anne Reid as Lady Denham.
I think I would pick Anne Reid, to be honest. I think she stole the show for me. I've always been delighted by her comedic timing, but
yes,
she did some like old school slapstick with the running around. And I just love her. I love that the show has given her this new chapter of her career where she gets to...
Yeah.
She is like Maggie Smithing for me. She's just amazing.
Yeah. Oh God, that's perfect. Yeah, I think she's terrific. I really can't wait to see how things unfold for her this season.
I hope we get to see her holding that hose pipe, blasting it.
I know, right?
Oh, that she loves doing that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many Antigua Black pineapples out of 5?
I'm going to give it 4.
Same. I think it was a solid start, but I think there is room for improvement when it comes to the romance between Charlotte and Colbourne. It really took a back seat, and I want more for them. Give me angst.
Yes.
Give me longing glances.
Yes.
Give me drama with Ralph. Give me.
Mm-hmm. Give me everything. I have a feeling that we may wind up being peeved at all of the various different storylines that they have going on in this show as the episodes tick by. But as of now, we still have 5 left, so we won't be too upset with them yet.
Postcards from Sanditon. Whoosh.
Yes.
The whooshing is back.
The whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Let's see. Hey, wonderful podcast ladies. I'm trying to be good and only watch 1 episode per week so I can be on the same page as you guys. Yay! Episode 1 is full of such fun, much happier than series 2 start. New characters. Ralph is reminding me of a red shirt guy from Star Trek. Yes! Can't help feeling he's doomed from the start.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Why is he wearing leprechaun hats? Yeah, that little hat that he was wearing was just pathetic. It's like, I can understand one, but there were 2 different ones. I saw a meme of him in the green one that said, birth control hat.
Oh.
So true. Oh, God. The Duke and his clan. I like them all. The daughter is giving a little bit of an Esther vibe. She's not as snarky as Esther, but, we'll see. Dr. Fuchs and Sister Hankins, found out her name is Beatrice,
Yeah.
love their German banter. I had to look up what an autodidact is. I love a language lesson. Lady D and Rowley. Was that the first season? The first season she mentioned him? How could you forget a name like that?
That's a good point.
One that I'm not sure about. Augusta and Edward. Can he ever be trusted? No. Speaking of Edward, the first time I watched him get hosed down, I thought, ew, isn't that a bit like waterboarding? Then I saw your post with the caption, Colin Firth vibes, and I see they were going to a much sillier place than I went at first. Yes.
It's just the hose, babe.
Yes. Other possibility. Dare they go there? Arthur and the Duke. Oh,
Someone else is thinking it. Okay, so I'm not crazy.
No. Final thoughts and questions. Is Snapdragon really a game?
Yep.
And why?
People were bored.
And people are... I have no idea. Where is Georgiana living? With the Parkers?
Oh, she has her own apartment.
Not anymore.
Yeah. They mentioned that at the end of season 2.
Yeah. Why did no one but Charlotte follow Georgiana out to meet Lockwood?
Good point.
Or Lockhart, or whatever his name is. Charles. Seems like Arthur or Tom, but he's kind of useless. Should have. She could have been abducted. What a bunch of weasels. Your loyal listener, Carol. Your loyal listener, Carol from Connect.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
She's not had much luck. Season 1, her boyfriend gets her abducted. Yeah. Season 2, her boyfriend is her cousin. Ugh. Okay. Hello again, ladies. Well, first up, yay, Charlotte and the gang are back. Old favourites are back, including the lovely bonnets, and there appear to be more stories building in the background. We can't just have Charlotte being the centre of attention. Charlotte with her, I must say, rather handsome fiancé Ralph, who, let's face it, is looking a bit unsure of everything. Charlotte is obviously off kilter with everything. You just know she's going to blow soon. The Colbournes return to Sanditon with an apparent happier attitude to each other and life. I swear Alexander was smiling. Augusta is no longer the surly teenager, and Leo is just cute. The waters and bath are indeed miraculous. I must say, I'm liking the deliciously slimy Edward. However, he does seem a little bit annoyed, comically so, and a bit bored by the punishments being doled out by his aunt, Dr. Fuchs, and the Reverend. The pathetic water torture and sermons are a bit too funny. I think deep down he misses and preferred his sparring with the wonderful Esther. But did I see a spark in his eyes when he spies Augusta? Stay tuned, folks. Ciao, Maria, from Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Thanks, Maria.
Don't make me think about Edward anymore.
The subject line for this one is, you get a romance, and you get a romance, and you get a romance.
I
love it.
Actually died when getting that email.
Wow, there are going to be a lot of couples this year in Sanditon. Is this good? Bad? I wager it'll be a little of both.
Yeah.
The characters I was most blah about were actually Charlotte, Colbourne, and I don't do poetry, play with balls, or have a personality, Ralph. Ouch! Yes, the balls innuendo is on purpose. Maybe you have to be a duke to be good with balls in this show. Oh man, I'm really over Charlotte's love life at this point. After a whole season of her and Colbourne being stupid, I'm not interested in another full season of it. I'll be doing some fast forwarding. The highlight of their whole milky affair is Augusta and Leo trying to set them up, and Leo daydreaming on the stairs about Charlotte and her father dancing, and Charlotte being her mother. That was very cute. That was very sweet. Ralph, I wish they'd made him have more personality, and I hope we'll see him stand up for himself soon. I thought he was just a sweet boy who deserves better than Charlotte. Georgiana, I can't believe she went from one of my least favorite characters in season 1 to one of my favorites in season 3. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
After this episode, I actually hope she doesn't end up with anyone and just gets to be an independent woman. or at least doesn't have to settle by the end of this season. Frickin'
She don't need no bullshit. Okay?
Nope. I'd like to see her relationships be about herself, her family, and her friendship with Arthur, and now the Duke of Montrose. Won't that trio of her, Arthur, and Harry Montrose be a blast? Yes! Do you suppose Harry might find a love interest in Arthur? Winky emoji.
Oh,
there is no real evidence for this so far in the show, but wouldn't that be an interesting journey? Especially because Georgiana would likely be a confidant to both. I'm putting it out there into the universe. Winky face emoji. I have zero interest in Edward chasing Augusta. I hope they kill that fast. Gross. Edward's redemption could be hilarious, but may also get old fast if they just do this bit over and over again all season. Lady Denham's I can handle a hose was priceless, though. Yes.
Yeah.
I have very little interest in Augusta as well. She's not as insufferable as last year, but I still like her better in very small doses. And Lady Denham and her crusty new beau. Oh, they should be good for a few laughs. This should be a fun season. Tara.
Oh,
thanks, Tara.
Thanks, Tara. That was funny.
Yes.
Okay. Let's read the description for 302 so we can brace ourselves for what's about to happen. Georgiana faces a nearly impossible task, but help arrives from a surprising place. Okay? Lady Denham accepts a new vision for the town and spars with an old flame.
Well, that answers that question.
Okay. So the hotel is on.
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to?
I really want to find out what's going on with Lockhart and this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Just to get some more information about what's happening with that. I am very intrigued by the phrase, but help arrives from a surprising place. I'm wondering just what the hell that is and who the hell that's going to be.
I wonder how surprising it actually is. They're just being coy. If it's not like the Duke or something like completely obvious.
Yeah.
I am interested because they've already had a trial and she's won. So there has to be something new emerged since then.
Yeah.
I really want information about her mother at this point. Kind of interested to see if I'm right about Arthur now. Like, that's my main crusade.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to know.
We need to know what's going on there. I'm not looking forward to watching Ralph be dumped on repeatedly for the rest of the season. That kind of makes me sad.
That makes me sad and angry.
I don't think he does. Well, nobody deserves this, but particularly not Ralph. I think Eliza maybe deserved it a little bit. Eliza was a bitch.
Yeah. But, he hasn't done anything to deserve what's coming. So I am definitely excited to see more. And thankfully, we only have a few more days to wait before we get there.
This is a new experience for us where we have to wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
We can't just... Well, I suppose you could watch... Do you have...
I could watch the whole thing. I've got the PBS passport. Yeah, so I could watch the whole thing, but I'm not going to.
Thank you. Because otherwise I would just be like, tell me everything, what happened?
It's like, nope, I'm not going to. So...
It's a different experience. The anxiety that it gives me to have to, wait is not fun. I'm not good with it. It's like being back in the Pollark days where we used to just agonize.
Yes. That was really hard.
We really were enduring torture on a weekly basis. And then podcasting about it. Like, are we okay? No.
Yes. It's like, no, we're not okay. Okay, kids. Well, that's all from us for this week. We'll be back next week discussing episode 2. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates. We are In the Books Network. You can also email us if you want to be read out in our postcards feature. Please send us a note at inthebooksnetwork@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends and give us a rate and review. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.